Good.
Nice.
Working at the YMCA.
All right, you guys ready? All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Be Better Boys. This is Zach, your host. We have Drew here, and we have a special guest. Actually, I'm really excited about this episode. Me and just a little bit of background. First of all, I wanted to tell you a little bit what we do here. Is we kind of know everyone's life kind of gets no structure, and everyone kind of gets lost. So it's just a podcast about, it's mainly focused towards men and just navigating the craziness with life. So anyway, though, you and me met 2 months ago, really, would you say?
Yeah, 2 months ago.
So 2 months ago, we hung out, and there was two wives hanging out, and two guys happened to be, tagging along.
Dudes doing dudes things.
Yeah, pretty much. So with that, though, we ended up talking, and then after a little bit, we got to know each other, and we had a good conversation, and it really sparked something, and I was really excited to talk to you. So I was really excited about this podcast today. I'll tell you that for sure.
Yeah, me too.
I think the reason why so by the way, this is Gavin. So
Howdy, y'all.
yeah. Drew, you want to say something?
I do, but go ahead.
Go ahead, Drew.
It's not serious.
No, go ahead.
All right, so I was waiting till we got started to say this, but this is obviously my first time meeting you. For whatever reason, I just had the urge to call you Yo Gava Gava.
Yo Gava Gava. I have not heard that one yet.
But it's
really
okay because I
funny.
thought of names for all of us. So you're Yo Gava Gava, Zachary in the middle, Drew's Clues.
Okay, I like it.
Continue.
You have to refer to that all night. All right.
Fine.
So anyway, though, but I really enjoyed our conversation though that night, that day, just because I think it resonated, and I think my opinion is because it resonated with truth, and I think it's because it just strikes true in a sense where it just really hits someone. So, what do you think, man?
I totally agree. It reignited a spark in me. I followed philosophy for a long time, and life got busy, and I still ponder, thoughts every day. Well, of course, thoughts, but just like why we exist and why things are the way they are every day. I was really into it for a while, and you reignited a passion in me.
Yeah.
That once it didn't fall off, but I was consuming content and thinking about these things actively, like 24/7. It was borderline a curse. But, here we are.
Well, what was really funny was I do this with a lot of people. I try not to because this is the one thing I'm good at is talking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I have a few people I've talked to and it's had a good connection with. But with that though, it's funny that I tried not to talk about it because I get too wrapped up in it. And then you were the one to bring it up, so I thought it was pretty funny. Like you were asking about you looked at me. I forgot how the whole conversation started, but it mainly started with the main part. I remember you just looked at me like, "Are you familiar with Jordan Peterson?"
Oh, and then bombs went off.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah. Well, I got up and I freaking ran around So anyway, though, with that though, that's the one thing I'm really good at is I feel like I think the way he does in depth, and I think that you really connect it with it because there's a sense of truth. I also think, and I don't want to push any buttons for anyone that watches this, but I also feel like you felt like a black sheep compared to some other people.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah?
100%. My whole lifestyle, I mean, for people that are listening and not watching, I have 2-inch gauges, and that's not just me flaunting it, but I mean, it's just like a sense of, not at the time, but almost like rebellion of the norm.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what time are you referring to? Like what year? Or like, what do you mean?
I decided when I was 14 years old that when I saw like gauges and really was able to take it in, I was like, that shit's cool. Mm-hmm. And I didn't care what anyone thought. This is my life, and that's what I want to do. And I did think about it. I have a job. I have a blessed life, and I have a good job that allows me to do it. So, given the opportunity, having minimal repercussions, I then began sizing my ears up from a fresh piercing when I was 19, and then here I am at 27 with 2-inch gauges. I told myself I'd stop at 10 millimeters.
What do you got now?
But yeah, 2 inches now, and if I want to go back, I'm getting surgery.
Yeah. My one cousin has gauges, and David, nothing close to your size at all. But anyway, though.
I had them too.
You had gauges?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember that at all.
Exactly.
No shit.
How big?
How big is 10 millimeters?
It's a double zero. Double zero.
Can you like reference how big that is?
Just under a penny, like just under the size of a penny.
Okay, I was a little bit under that. I
You're-
could fit like a pencil through my ear.
You're probably a 0 or a 2.
Yeah.
Yep. If you got to 4 gauge, you can never forget the 4 gauge to 2 gauge stretch. Mm-hmm. It was
So
miserable.
after 4 gauge, you can't go back.
They say double zero.
I don't know. So like,
It's insane how much an ear can size down. I was actually at my brother-in-law's powerlifting meet, and one guy was there that had his ears sewn up, and he went up to 1 inch and 7/8, and he kept them out for like a year, and he said his ears shrunk up to 3/4 of an inch. So your skin will really shrink up, but he inevitably had to get surgery because 3/4 of an inch is still a pretty big ass hole.
it was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I seen some people do. It was a trend for a minute where they did surgery to get rid of their concha. You know what that is?
Yeah, they do like a conch punch.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I watched all those videos.
So I don't know if you know. I used to be a hearing care practitioner. I was a licensed hearing care practitioner. For
No, you never mentioned that.
So I actually knew a ton about the ear and hearing loss and stuff like that. But the amount of hearing loss you get from punching out your concha is going to.
Well, I believe it. I mean, the main spot of the ear where sound's supposed to bounce off of just goes into the void, like out the back.
It's called natural resonant frequency. So it's the way it's shaped. It literally takes the sound and whips it around enough to increase it where it needs it for you to understand stuff.
Yeah, when I'm driving around for work, I work construction, so I'm driving around constantly, and it's funny when I listen to like a podcast or whatever. My stereo doesn't work, so I gotta turn my phone up and put it in my cup holder, and man, it's loud enough, but it's hard to hear. It's not like talking to an actual person where you're cruising on the highway, your engine's roaring, and you're kind of able to like glance at them, you see their mouth moving, and you can pick up on every damn detail, even if you don't hear everything. But when you're listening to that podcast, you only pick up on just like the littlest damn thing.
It's pretty crazy.
So, yeah.
So speaking of podcast, so you listen to a lot of podcasts, right?
So it depends. I'm a YouTube kid. I'm a Zoomer, bro.
It's more YouTube for me. It's podcast on YouTube. I have to visualize it. Yeah.
Talks. They're not labeled podcasts, but podcasts.
So you're into Peterson.
Yes.
So what got you into that?
I'll be honest with you. I don't even remember so I was having a hard time with life, and I just came across this guy as like a damn miracle. I don't know what it was. He was on my YouTube recommended one day. And I forget what the video was labeled, but it was something profound enough to get me to click on it. It was
this guy is Peterson, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I listened to him speak, and when he would talk, it sounded like my subconscious that was like drowning was trying to communicate with me, and Jordan Peterson was like that middleman. It was almost like everything he was saying, like, yeah, I know that. Why the hell am I not doing this? And it took about 2 minutes of that guy opening his mouth, and that was it. I spent the next week going through Jordan Peterson lectures and listening to everything he had to say. And I have to say, over like, a year-long period, putting what he had to say into practice in my life. I'm not an expert, but I would take excerpts that I would find from what he would say, and it resonated a lot with me due to the way I was raised. My father raised me in a very similar fashion to how Jordan Peterson kind of does in words things. So it resonated with me very differently.
Always deep.
Yes.
That's my dad.
Always seeking the truth. Always.
Logical thinking.
Yes. And even if it's something you don't want to hear, they're going to say it.
Hard truths.
Yes. And you need it. You need that median in your life. Everyone's too nice nowadays. Well, I wouldn't say too nice. Nice is, you should never knock being nice. But you got to make sure you're not being too nice. You got to tell people something they got to hear if they need to hear it.
Yes, yes. Well, you don't want to. You want to be an enabler. So, like, the biggest thing is, and I was talking this with Drew actually a few days ago, is I think one of the biggest things with people is they lie to themselves. And I talk about this in multiple episodes now, so I know it's repeating, but we're just talking. So, but people lie to themselves, and I think you kind of you even said, like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. But you didn't ever realize it before that.
Yes.
So it's a sense of like lying to yourself in order to. It's a sense of comfort to not be the potential of what you could be.
Yeah, and I have to interject a little bit. I remember being younger. I don't remember what episode it was, but I remember watching an episode of South Park, and Eric Cartman was on his typical like fuck shit or whatever, and I think Kyle mentioned it, and he said a line. I don't know what kind of mental Olympics you have to do to come to like X conclusion or whatever, and I oddly enough think about that a lot, like, because everyone does mental Olympics, if you're any sort of passionate person and there's something you really like, whether it's positive or negative, you will take time to convince yourself that this is what you must do, even if it is becoming a problem. And you could have someone tell you, you know, like someone tells it to you and goes over your head because you love it. You know, whatever you're doing, whatever thing you're into, you love it. And sometimes as time goes by and you grow as a person, they tell you a 50th time and then the bell rings in your head.
So so we talk really deep quite a bit, apparently a lot. Anyway, though,
You don't say.
Yeah. So this is like I said, this is the one thing I'm really good at is getting deep and really knowing people and looking at things at different avenues and describing it in a way people understand. So, but there's you say it so much to the point where it doesn't resonate with you the way it first did when you first had that epiphany. That I would honestly say it's like an awakening. It's like awakening your consciousness. You see what
Revelation.
I'm saying? Yeah. It's a revelation. Everyone says it's like a philosophy. I feel like it is a revelation because revelation is spiritual and it's revealing of truth. Very good, Drew. So that's what revelation actually means.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's almost like reveal is in the name.
Yeah, stop it. Anyway, though, you got lost my train of thought. So with that, people end up lying to themselves, and you lost me. That's my train of thought. Anyway, though, so people end up lying to themselves, and with that, though, they end up trying to tell themselves excuses, but they try bringing other people into the excuse. So that's like the whole victimhood mentality. They'll say stuff, and they want to whine loud enough that other people hear them, and they want other people to hear them and feel bad for them, so they confine in their lie of victimhood. So they want them to feel bad for them, so it builds up that character of I don't need to try even harder. And they get so caught up into it that they're not going to go any farther. You know, it's this terrible, terrible cycle.
Yeah, and it's all too common nowadays, and it's funny because I kind of know, but I thought everyone was kind of with it. In kindergarten, you know, you learn not to point your finger, you know. So at a very young age, I did my damnedest to never, ever make my issues somebody else's. So the whole victimhood mentality, it's funny watching it coming from someone who never inherently even understood it. It was just taboo to me on sight because I take responsibility for my actions. It's just like, I'm me, I'm Gavin. You know, what I'm doing is Gavin thing. Going back to the gauges thing, I wanted gauges, so I did gauges, you know. So, shit. Now I'm spurting a little bit.
No, you're good, man.
My brain's sputtering.
No. So
you go by the beat of your own drum, and you always have.
Yes, and if there's repercussions for my actions, I will never, ever try to victimize myself or throw someone else under the bus because it is all me, and I'll defend myself, accordingly. Whether it's enlightening someone, explain to them why I'm doing what I'm doing or whatever.
That's pretty powerful that it's come from that young of an age because most people can't say that. You know, that's something you learn over time. So to say you learned that in kindergarten, you were probably 5?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something like that.
That's pretty impressive.
It always, I don't mean to bring up politics per se, but I'll keep it brief.
No, I was going to go into something with that next, so go ahead.
I think it's funny because whenever there's issues with the government, it's this president's dealing with the issues from that past president. And I'm just sitting here thinking I didn't read anything about this. I'm just sitting here thinking the dude's the president, bro. It doesn't matter how the guy before set him up. He's the president. He's in a position to do something about it. I don't care about excuses. I don't. You're president, bro. Figure it out, man. And don't blame the guy before you. That's crazy. You're taking on I would go as far to say probably one of the most powerful responsibilities an American can have, and you're going to blame... I mean, none of the presidents, I think, are inherently blaming the guy before them, but...
It depends.
The given parties, I feel definitely poke around in that subject, and it makes me cringe, man.
So politics obviously is a very... sensitive topic for a lot of people.
Yes.
So I hope I'm not crossing any bounds. But so the last time we talked, though, like I said, the reason why I think we resonated because it was there's that truth,